In the first part of the volume videos, we discussed how to find the volume of simple parallelograms and other shapes. And now in this video, what we're going to be going over is kind of the addition of multiple parallelograms and how to combine different volumes to find the total volume of one shape. So the first example I'm going to use is this three-dimensional shape, which isn't a parallelogram, but it has a combination of two parallelograms. If you can't see it right away, then I'll help you to find it. So if you can't see it right away, one of the sides, what I would do is I would split this into two rectangles. So if we extended this line here, this would become a rectangle here, and if we were to fill in the rest of the lines, it would look something like this. So being that we know that this side here is 2, we can assume that this length down here is 2 and this length up here is 2. Since we know this length is 8, we can assume that this length is 8 and this length is 8 as well. Before we worry about this rectangle, let's worry about the rectangle that I've been working with already. So we're going to find the volume of this rectangle, and to do so we've been given all of the measurements we need to do so. So we know from the previous video that the equation for volume is volume equals base times width times height. So let's figure out the base, the width, and the height on this specific rectangular prism. So if we look, we can see that our base seems to be 2, so B equals 2. Our width is 8, and the height is 5. Now using the equation, we can find the volume. So our volume is base 2 times width 8 times height 5. When we multiply this out, we get volume equals 16 times 5. And on the calculator, you can do 16 times 5, and you'll get 80. So just there, we solve for the volume of this rectangular prism. So now that we've dealt with the first one and figured out that its volume was 80, we're now going to deal with this rectangle here. So once again, we've been given all the measurements we needed. From here, we can see that our height is 2. It has this, since this is 2, and this whole thing is 4, we can assume that this length right here is 2 as well. You can easily solve that by doing 4, the whole thing, minus 2, and you'll get 2. So from that, we figured out that our base is equal to 2. To solve for our length, well, we can see that the length of this rectangle has the same length as this rectangle. So the length of this rectangle is 8. To find volume, we use our equation. Volume equals base times width times height. Width can also be length, same thing. So to make things easier, I'll just turn this into a W. Since we have all our measurements, we can fill them in. So we have volume equals 2 times 8, which equals 4 times 8. Volume equals 32. And that is not of the entire thing, but this parallelogram, 3D parallelogram right here. So the volume of this is 32. Now, the question is, how do we find the entire volume? Since we know that this volume is 80 and this one is 32, to find the area of the entire thing, we just multiply these two add these two volumes. So 80 plus 32 is equal to 112. therefore the volume of the entire thing is 112. Let's move on to another example. Let's say we're given this shape, which is a little more easy. Once again, let's split it into two different shapes. Oh, sorry about that. So as you can see, we have this shape here, and then we have this shape here. Once again, we're given our measurements, so everything will be fairly easy to fill in. So let's start with this one right here. So, we know already that our height is 60. Since this is 40 and the whole thing is 60, we know that this must be 20, which will help us with the second triangle. But we need the width of this, right? Well, since we know the width of this one is 10, and since they seem to have the same width, we can assume that this measurement right here is 10. So this is 10, and this is 10. That would be our width. Now, how do we find our length? Well, we know this whole thing is 80, and we know from here to here is 60. So 80 minus 60 is 20. So 80 minus 60 is equal to 20. So now we have our measurements. Our height is 60. Our base is 20. Base is 20. And our width is 10. So to find the volume of this shape, we multiply these using our volume formula. So volume equals 60 times 20 times 10. These are kind of big numbers, so a calculator can be used to do so. So first of all, let's multiply 60 times 20. That'll give you 1,200, and then multiply that by 10. And your total volume will be 12,000. Now that's not the volume for the entire thing. That's the volume for this shape right here. Sorry, this shape right here. So let me erase everything and make everything a little easier to see and visualize. So we said that the volume of this shape right here is 12,000. Now let's move on to this. As we defined before, we said this one was 20, right? Okay, yeah, so we got that was 20. Another measurement that we are given, or we can solve for, is the height. Or, sorry, we have the height. Another measurement we need is the length, which is given to us, which is 60. So we know our width is 60, our height is 20, but what's our width? Well, our width, again, is given to us. Or, sorry, yeah. Or, sorry, this is the base. Our base is 10. So in order to find, again, the volume of this, we use our volume equation and multiply these numbers here. So our volume is equal to 60 times 20 times 10. If you realize, this is the same shape we had last time, just on its side. So this one is upright, and this one is on its side. So our volume is going to be the same. Our volume is equal to 12,000. And that's not for the entire thing. Again, that's just for this. So, since we know the volume of this one is 12,000, and the volume of this one is 12,000, so to find the total volume, you add 12,000 plus 12,000. And this will give you 24,000. Therefore, the volume of the entire thing is 24,000. Alright, congrats on finishing your second video on volume. If you need any extra help on volume or any of the other topics discussed in the videos, feel free to contact the email provided below.